Hi, we're here on the last day of Cannes Lions, broadcasting from Mercado Ads Studio with Diego Barraza, and we're very thrilled to be joined by Simon Cook, CEO of Lions. Welcome, Simon. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and thank you, Diego. Let's start with your overall thoughts of the Lions. What's your assessment of Cannes Lions 2025? Have the previous expectation come true?
Yeah, I think after experiencing many of these, we are 72 years in after all. This year has been exceptional. It's been brilliant to see so many different countries represented here on the global stage, so many different parts of the industry coming together to celebrate the power of creativity. So we're very happy.
You received almost 27,000 entries. And according to what's announced at the beginning of this edition, Latin America grew around 16%. Among all the countries in this region, Brazil stood out with 3,000 entries. Has Latin America reached the ceiling, or do you think that there is still space room to grow? Which countries do you think should have a greater participation, and why?
I think based on the winning work that's coming through and the participation in the entries overall, it's safe to say that Latin America and Brazil, as you said, have not peaked. If anything, I imagine that the energy that we'll experience at the final award show this evening will be an indication of just how much fire people have in their bellies leaving this edition of Cannes Lions to raise the bar again in 2026.
That's great. Even I saw yesterday the prizes, and I think Latin American people are the loudest.
For sure.
Every time someone from Latin America won or presented something, there was a ton of noise.
Yeah, they bring the energy, that's for sure.
Yeah, and talking about energy and bringing the representation, how do you feel about having these big like sponsors and big companies from Latin America now coming to Cannes, doing this type of things, bringing conversations to the table? What does that mean for the overall context of this type of festival?
I think it's fantastic. And look, it's any company can say that they take a creative approach to everything that they do. But I think the brands, the partners that have shown up here and activated in a genuinely creative way are the ones who are actually walking. And I think our audience responds really positively to that. And let's face it as well, because everyone is here, there are great opportunities when it comes to future revenues, making connections. So it's a very positive thing.
That's great. We've seen major changes in the industry. Is the shrinking of holding companies, mergers, disappearance of brand advertising being replaced by the growing arrival of independent agency?
No, I think there's room for everyone. It is fantastic that we've seen greater participation from the independent agencies coming through, and long may that continue. But there is still an incredibly strong showing from the holding companies and agency networks, as well as brands. Brands we've seen in the last few years are entering directly. They are showing up to participate. And when we ask CMOs especially why they come to Cannes and why they've come this year, the response is really consistent. They tell us they're coming to Cannes because they want to understand how to better leverage creativity as a tool for growth.
Yes, totally. Cannes Lions has always been a celebration of creativity. It's at the heart of the festival. But for the last few years, marketeers from all over the world have been flocking to the festival, and technology companies no longer leave a single place on the beach.
Yes.
And creatives live together with their clients and businessmen. How do you visualize the event for the coming years?
Yeah, I think we'll continue to attract different parts of the industry. I think the brands are here to stay, the agencies, the tech companies who've been here for a while. But it is fascinating to see the different verticals, the different categories that are landing here in Cannes each year. It started with the agencies, the brands, the media companies. More recently, people from the world of e-commerce are coming. We're seeing more creators coming to the festival than ever before. And some of the activations are starting to reflect that. You know, you only have to look at Sports Beach, which is completely dedicated to sports marketing, which is fantastic. We have relationships now with LinkedIn, who are representing the whole of the B2B industry. So I think what we're seeing is this organic neighborhooding happening within Cannes, where different facets of the industry are showing up, not just to represent their own brands, but to represent whole ecosystems.
What are the aspects to be improved?
No, I think it's happening organically. It's nice to see that we're having new players come to Cannes every year. And I think that's a very positive thing. I don't think it dilutes what we're doing. If anything, it brings more richness to the conversation.
To be honest, I'm not from this industry. So I didn't.
Welcome.
I mean, I've always known about Cannes, and I have friends that are in the industry.
Sure.
But it was a really nice surprise to know that B2B has been like taking more of an important role in the whole festival, as you were just saying. But I wanted to know, what was your expectation at the beginning, like when you started introducing the B2B e-commerce and type of awards, and how has it changed with your experience?
Well, 72 years ago, we had one award. It was for TV and cinema advertising. Today, there are 30, representing the full breadth of the industry. And whenever we decide to introduce a new award, it's usually because we've had sometimes several years of conversation with the respective parties within the industry who would like us to introduce it. We did that with health, we did it with pharma, and more recently with B2B. And the reason there is a demand there is because they are looking for a benchmark for that entire industry. So as part of introducing the B2B Lion, it was the hope that by shining a spotlight on this kind of work on the global stage, that over time we'd be able to see the quality and the caliber of that work increasing. And the juries have confirmed this year that that is exactly what's happening.
Perfect. You go ahead.
Simon, do you plan to visit Latin American countries to promote next edition? If so, which ones?
Of course, yeah. Every year we make our way over to Latin America. We haven't decided yet, but we will definitely be showing up later this year, which we are always looking forward to.
Simon, just a couple of last questions, but more on a personal note. You were promoted relatively young to be on a leadership role of first of Cannes, then of the Lions. Can you remember of that moment, or one of the moments that you finally believed in that role? You know, like you assumed the role more than just the title, but that you really felt like, okay, this is real, and I'm really the chief here.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I think it's inevitable when you are promoted that there is a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was very fortunate that I had a boss and a mentor who had such faith in me and such belief in me. It made it difficult for that imposter syndrome to take over.
Okay.
Also, I think, a great piece of advice someone gave me at the time was, yes, it's okay to have imposter syndrome, but just reframe it, Rather than think I'm not good enough to be doing this, think about, well, you're learning every day. Everyone likes to learn. You just haven't figured out how to do it yet. But with the right support and nurturing and mentorship, look, anything's possible.
Perfect. And my last question has to do with you starting from the mailroom, and also I've heard you say that you were not that good in advertising kind of the world, and now you lead one of the main events, or that main event for everyone who's in the industry. What were some of the principles or the main learnings you had when you were young that you think by following them it brought you here to where you are today?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, would I think that I'd be doing this? I'd say absolutely not. Absolutely not. I come from a creative background. I worked in agencies. But the thing I've held on to is creativity. I'm not making things every day. I'm not putting new things into the world. But I think when it comes to leading a business, you have to be innately creative. You have to be very close to the product in order to shape it to be differentiated. I think it's It's not right to have CEOs or leaders who are completely disconnected or just acting as figureheads. The more immersed you are, the more closer you are to your products and therefore your customer, the better chance you stand of being a distinctive business and ultimately cutting through.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you so
for
much
having me.
for sharing your insights. It's been a big pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for visiting us here at the Mercado Ad Studio and making this possible.
I don't want to leave. This is the best aircon at the festival.
It's a trick. That's the trick.